My number one is Brooklyn from 2015, once again starring Saoirse Ronan and Emery Cohen, Donald Gleason, a bunch of other great people. Quick logline: an Irish immigrant lands in 1950s Brooklyn, where she quickly falls into a romance with a local. When her past catches up with her, however, she must choose between two countries and the lives that exist within. So I put this movie on my list because a big part of leaving home is that feeling of homesickness. And I don't think I know of a movie in my lifetime that I've seen that captures that feeling so perfectly. And they even say it in the movie that it's almost like a disease that it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember feeling that,
Mm.
at every point of my life when I left home. So to give people context, I was living in Delhi and I would go to undergrad in a city called Pune, which is close to Bombay or Mumbai. It was almost a 2 day long train journey. And throughout that
Oh wow.
entire train journey, I would basically sleep all but maybe an hour because I was
Mm.
just so overcome with emotion and almost paralyzed, if you will, that I just
Mm.
couldn't do anything. I was so upset and just unhappy to leave home that I would
Mm.
just coil up and just sleep. And then of course wake up with a giant headache that would last for another day. So
Mm.
a pretty painful,
Yeah,
dramatic
sounds like it.
experience leaving home. And then, of course, since then things changed and I finally grew up. But even now, I'm 40. When I go back to Delhi for like a 10-day trip, when I say goodbye, that scene at the airport and the first few hours of the flight, I'm once again the 17-year-old boy
Mm.
leaving home. It doesn't take me much to kind of fall back into that place. And I think this movie really captures that, and really it's Saoirse, like her face, and it's all in the face, it's all in her eyes. Like
Mm-hmm.
this feeling of that, yeah, you're meeting people, you're going about the day, but you're a zombie in this new place, trying to figure out who you are. But it's not
Right.
even about the newness of the place, it's really about the weight of not being with the people that you grew up with.
Right.
And that feeling of family and familiarity, like that's stripped out. Like she's a very competent, smart, bright young woman who has ambitions and has goals and is actually, getting along pretty well. But it's this other stuff that sort of pulls you down. And then how I think the movie does a great job in showing how important it is to meet those souls in those early years who give you a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of a nudge, make you feel seen, and they go such a long way. And I'm sure everybody has had those. I've certainly had those people, and you see many of those people in this movie who just do a little, and that goes such a long way for her to sort of find her home, find herself. So yeah, I just think it's a brilliant movie in that regard. The romance that she encounters is also one of the sweetest
Mm-hmm.
romances I've seen on film. Like whenever I watch it, I'm smiling ear to ear, just looking at those two. The way he looks at her, how shy he is, but also forthcoming. She has a bit of an upper hand, and she sort of, keeps him at arm's length, but also is sort of melting for him a little bit. It's just so beautiful. And then the last thing I would say is I also relate very strongly to the part when she goes back home and the life that you've left behind and the life that you sort of felt you didn't really have much going on. And suddenly you're back home and things feel kind of good.
Uh-huh.
People are looking up to you. There's more opportunity. There's suddenly more doors opening. And for a brief moment, you almost even second guess that maybe I should come back here. And then, of course, boom, something reminds you of all the things that you didn't like about this place.
Yep.
And you're like, no, hell no. Like, and similar to Ladybird, like, you don't have to, you know, you can still not like it but still love it.
Right.
Like she'll always be Irish, she'll always
Mm-hmm.
be Ailish, and she has all this stuff from home inside of her, but it doesn't mean you have to stay.
Right.
And I think I relate to that. And yeah, it's corny. You come back and the girl is waiting for the guy who's leaving, for work. It's movie magic, whatever you say it, but it works. Like this movie, I don't think will work for people who are a little bit cynical. I think you have to kind of come with a little bit of a sentimentality
Hmm.
and corniness in life, which I have. So this movie works for me. Transportive, attention to detail, all that is brilliant. Those and initial scenes of her being on the boat and coming through immigration, all of that, brilliant. Like I remember that I didn't take a boat to Ellis Island, but
Uh-huh.
my first flight into the US and walking through immigration with my giant folder of papers, I'm like, what if they send me back? What if they like lock me up somewhere because I've
Yeah.
answered the questions in a wrong way? uh, all of it. So that's why this is my number one movie. It's also a comfort movie, weirdly enough, for me, because
Mm.
when I feel homesick or I want to put myself deliberately in that feeling of catching that disease again,
Hmm.
this is the movie to put on. So yeah, that's Brooklyn.
Yeah, so I'm really glad you put this film on the list. I'd never seen this movie before, but it's been on my
Hmm.
like, oh, I should watch it because when it came out, so many people said that I should see it. It just I don't remember what year. It was something I was busy and I couldn't see it in theaters and then never have seen it. But I really like this movie a lot. I think as someone who is not an immigrant and didn't go through those same experience, and actually as someone who I don't know if I've ever actually really felt homesickness before, which is maybe weird to say, but I don't think I've ever felt those type of emotions. It really like made me feel I felt them though for her. Both I think it was one
Mm,
of the best movies I've ever seen about what I assume the immigrant experience feels like in terms
mm,
of how you are away from, you're off in this other world. You feel at a place everywhere, but then you slowly do find your new home. And I what the message of
mhm,
this movie that really especially the end like really hit me too is like it really is about when you do leave home, you're creating a new home, but this new home
mhm,
is really like, they say home is where the heart is. I mean, it's like once
mhm.
she fell in love with this guy who I didn't remember his name now, but when it was
Tony.
Tony, yeah, it was the love for Tony that then she felt home. She was surrounded by
Mhm,
love. She was with somebody that she loved, and then that is now Brooklyn is becoming home to her because of that. And the reason why she then goes back in the film and decides to go back to Brooklyn is, yeah, she went back to Ireland. You're right. She a lot of things that are great there. She realizes the bad things about being in a small town, the gossip, all that kind of stuff. But it's really the love for Tony that brings her back. And that line at the end of the film too, she's on the boat going back, and there's another new immigrant, Irish immigrant that she's talking to, trying to like reassure her that everything's going to kind of be okay. And the woman asks her, "Oh,
mhm,
what's Brooklyn or what's Brooklyn like? Because that's where I'm headed." And she's like, "Oh, Brooklyn's like Ireland. It's like home." And I think that's when she really realizes herself that her home is in Brooklyn because now she has this new life and this new love with Tony. That's sort of how I read it's the romance and the finding somebody and how important it is to find the people that you love in your where you go, because then that is how it becomes your new home. Now Ireland is still obviously where she's from, and like you said, she's still Irish. She's proud of that. It's not like she's running away from that, but I think she's building a new life and a new home, and it's through love that she's able to find that. So that's what this movie kind of how it resonated with me. I think the love story is like you said, just so great. And all the different emotions that she takes, the twists and turns of what it must be like to leave your home country, homesick. Okay, this is fun. Oh, actually, I want to be home. Oh, this is kind of nice being home. Oh, wait a second. No, all those mixed emotions, I'm sure, as you said, you were feeling too. And
yeah.
I just think this movie does such an incredible job of capturing it. Just such a well done story. And the acting is just phenomenal at every level. And yeah, just really, really touching and definitely I loved it. I really
I'm
enjoyed the
so
film.
glad to hear that. I will say though, yeah, the love is a big part of it, but I think it's not just the only thing. I think it is also about the life that she's built and the independence that she's been
Mm-hmm.
able to afford in this new place where she's going to school, she has these friends, she lives by herself. I think it's all of it, because I think
Mm-hmm.
what gets challenged, because she has like love and admiration back home too in Domhnall Gleeson's character, but
Sure.
what gets really poked at is I think that feeling of independence, the
Mm,
gossipiness and the small townness really is, I think, a metaphor to accentuate that feeling that, oh, I can't really be myself. I can't be my own person here.
mm,
And that's sort of what, not to that degree, but for different reasons, I felt that too, because I wasn't finding the kind of people that, and you're right, it is about the people, but I think the underlying reason to me is about feeling you and
mm.
feeling independent. I think she did want that, and her sister was smart because she saw that in her. That's why
Right.
she sent her off, that you, because not everybody wants that in their life, and there's
No,
no
no, no,
judgment there,
no, not at all. Yeah.
and but I think she did want that, and that's why she came to this whole did this whole journey. So yeah, I think love is a part of it, but I have a feeling that even if the Tony romance had not gotten to a place where it does in the movie, and had they not even been engaged, which they are before she leaves,
They're married,
I think
actually. Yeah, they get full
they're
on
married.
married.
Sorry,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
right. Yeah, I think she would have still come back,
Mm.
if not that week or the week after, the month after, she would have come back. I think because she would have, that life would have felt, you know, sufficient, but maybe not what she wants. That's just
Mm.
my feeling.
Yeah, no, I can see that. It's like there was already a life kind of laid out in front of her back in Ireland, and in that she didn't have as much agency in, I guess. Like people were setting her up.
Mhm.
Like she had this, she was given this job. She was kind of given, Donald Gleason as well.
Right.
And she didn't have that control. Whereas in Brooklyn, like she kind of set her own destiny one way or the other, and that was she wanted to be with Tony. It wasn't that anyone
Yeah.
said, "Oh, be with this Italian kid," or "Oh, you're kind of being set up." It's like, hey, that was something she went after.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think that's a lot of it too. It's like you leaving home to kind of escape expectations, I guess, in a way that other people might have of
And
you,
have agency,
and have
like you
agency.
said.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's just a fantastic film. Yeah, I'm very glad. I'm very glad I watched it finally. It's just been held up to
I'm
the
glad you did.
all the recommendations I heard, and how great the film was. It definitely met those expectations for sure.
I'm glad to hear that. And also, like, look at Saoirse Ronan, like Lady Bird and Eilish couldn't be two more different people. And this
Oh
is
yeah,
the same actress playing them. It's incredible.
yeah, no, she just gives again, like you said earlier, like one of the better young actresses we have working today. And I've been, following her career since that Joe Wright film, blanking on the name.
Atonement.
Atonement, right. Yeah, where she was so good in that.
Hmm.
And yeah, she just continued to put great performance after great performance. But I especially was
Yeah.
taken with how she did this role. Like you said, it's a lot of it just in her eyes and how she's looking. It's the subtleties that come across. There's not, yes, the script plays a big part of it, but it's a lot through her performance. You really feel what it's like for her to be in New York, just so far away from Ireland. She just
Yeah.
fantastic performance. Oscar
And
nominated, I
Lisa, I'm
think.
saying, yeah, Oscar nominated, and I think a very deserving Best Picture nomination too,
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
it's
agree.
all departments working in concert. This movie can just be a very small performance movie, and it'll still be very good, but it has a lot of scale and scope to it, and you need that
Mm-hmm.
for someone to sort of for you to really see that fish out of water feeling. It sort of accentuates like all these amazing Brooklyn shots,
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
board. Like, and then even Ireland, it's so beautiful.
Oh
Like, I
man,
really
it
want to
really is.
go someday. It's just stunningly beautiful. And you really, I think that's important to kind of have this dilemma heightened, that because, if you're going back to a place which had nothing to offer and kind of was this, ugly place, pardon me for saying that, maybe the choice would be different versus
Right.
here you're coming back to that something that looks heavenly, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty important. So yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, fantastic.
uh,
Highly recommend folks watch this film if you haven't already seen it. Just a great, or rewatch it because it's that good
I
of a film.
rewatched it.
Do a rewatch.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.